What's up, fam? I hope everybody's enjoying this beautiful day. And this is the day the Lord hath made, and we're here to rejoice. And I want you to know that God is still good all the time, and all the time God is good. We're living in some difficult times, and we're charting some uncharted territory. But through it all, I want you to know that God is still in control, and God is not threatened by the omnious waters. God is not threatened by the uncertainty, because God has no uncertainty. God is omniscient, meaning God knows all things. God knows the beginning from the end. And while we may see through a glass darkly, while we may not know what's going to happen in the month of April or May, while we don't know what's going to happen in November, we certainly we're prayerful for what's going to happen in November. But while we don't know that, God already knows that. God knows who's going to be inaugurated next year. God has already fixed it. So we just got to be in peace and knowing that God has all things under control. And if you logged on to Hope TV, I hope you've been blessed by our programming. We have endeavored to present to you quality, uplifting, holistic programming that can bless you and your entire family. And if you're logged on, won't you consider subscribing or liking? Send this link to somebody that you know may be interested in the conversation. Tonight is a favorite show of ours. It's become a mainstay. We recorded it for the first time last week, and my goodness, the response has been overwhelming on all of our platforms, and so we're excited. So if you're watching by Apple TV, Roku, if you're watching by YouTube, by Facebook, that's the official page of Pastor E. Dewey Smith and House of Hope. If you're following now by Twitter, by Periscope, or by the websites, or through the church app, or through edeweysmith.org, whatever medium you're watching through, we pray that you're blessed, and I know it's going to be a great, great time. We've been trying to come on to make sure you get some good programming. So I want to thank you for staying with us today while we work through a few issues. It's going to be an exciting time. And so if you were logged on right now, let me know where you logged on from. Just drop a line. Let me know the city and state or the country you're from. We've been blessed to now share Hope TV with over 200 countries around the world in just a short while, and we're grateful. And so if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, let us know. Come on, send that link right now. Let us know. It certainly will bless our hearts and will bless our team's hearts. So hopefully you watched the first episode of Grown and Sexy. This broadcast is amazing because while we do a lot of talk in churches and in secular and corporate settings about millennials and reaching that new generation, there's often an omitted demographic that's just as valuable, if not more valuable in many instances. And so we just don't want to omit this particular group because it makes all of us. And the House of Atlanta is a church, one church that ministers to 5 generations. It's not just our mantra, it's our mission. It's part of our ministry and our methodology. We want to touch everybody. So whether you're in the crib or on your way to the cemetery, we have ministries and we have emphasis that's for you. And so it's important that you know we love you and we're concerned about you. We're concerned about the whole of our community and all of our family. To that end, last week we had an amazing conversation for Grown and Sexy. What is Grown and Sexy? That's not the young group that's just getting out of college and those who haven't lived a long time. Those are still learning about themselves. This Grown and Sexy demographic is for those who are a little more mature in terms of age and experiences. It's geared for those who are 40 and older, those who live, some who've been married before, some who've been in relationships before, may have children who are older or younger. And sometimes the needs are different. The needs of a 22-year-old single may not be the same as one who's 35 or 45. And so we want to make sure we have conversations that are demographic specific, that we can really have the conversations that meet you where you are. And I am excited. I really am about our conversation today. We have back with us from last week, 3 of our guests from last week. One could not come back with us due to prior scheduling conflicts, but we have 3 guests who are back with us. One is a native of the Bay Area out there in California, moved to Atlanta some years ago, and she was married at a very young age. She said to us last week that when she got married, the Cosby Show was still on the airways. So it gives you a little context about when she was in that relationship. And of course, as sometimes life would have it, that marriage didn't work out for whatever reasons, and we know that life can be that way. But she's been putting the pieces of her life back together and been healing and just rediscovering herself. And now she is doing some incredible things, not just in music. As a jazz singer, she is an entertainer. Just got off tour with Tyler Perry a few weeks ago, and she is an incredible woman of God, an incredible singer, and just an incredible human being. That's Sarah Vaughn. Sarah's here with us. Welcome back, Sarah. Glad to have you with
Hey, thanks.
us.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that. I'm glad to be back. I'm excited.
you're the introvert of the group, but you weren't introverted last week.
I know, right? Coming out of the shell. No, I'm going back in. Trust me, it's
Glad
okay.
to have you. Our second guest who was with us last week, I've known her little all of my life. We grew up in the same hometown. Her father has been a mentor, baseball coach for me growing up, making Little League. As a matter of fact, her father gave me my first public preaching opportunity after my first sermon. This was May 29th, 1988, when he was pastoring there in Macon, Georgia, her father. We went to school together in college. As a matter of fact, I was at Morehouse. She was at Spelman. We would travel back and forth. She's part of my ministry there. Her family's very, very close to me. And I've seen her grow from Southwest High School to Spelman College, University of South Carolina, and Georgia Southern. She's been growing. She's worked in Bibb County and DeKalb County and Charleston, South Carolina. And now she is the superintendent of the Birmingham Public City Schools. And she a part of our Grown and Sexy conversation tonight as well. Again, Dr. Lisa Herrick. What's up, my sister?
How you doing, Pastor Brother? Good evening.
Glad to have you with us, man. I see. I heard you did your own hair today.
You know I did, and it's gonna be all right. I sure did.
I
I
heard you.
sure
I heard
did.
you.
Black
You
girl
trying to get
magic.
you trying to get together. I heard you doing a little fishing on this show.
Well, I'm just saying it's a platform, sir. So I want to represent well.
Glad to have you with us. Glad to have you with us
Thank you.
again. And then we have a new voice that's going to be here with us today. Yana Crawler couldn't be with us. She was one of our participants last week on our show, and the schedule would not allow her to be with us today. But we have with her, we have another unique perspective from a very powerful woman of God. She is the daughter of two Army colonels. So she was born in Germany, grew up as an Army brat. She's grew up traveling the world, living all abroad and all over the U.S. And she is a singer. She is involved in a lot of philanthropic endeavors. As a matter of fact, she just served as the press secretary for the new mayor of Atlanta, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and she's recently moved to D.C., where she's working with a major organization that does philanthropy, that helps people. She works in communications and public relations, and she does a lot in terms of giving advice and counsel to C-level executives. So she works in business, she works in PR, she works in communications and in corporate endeavors and in philanthropic engagement. Certainly happy to have with us today Nikki Foreman. Nikki, who's also a singer. What's up, Nikki?
Hi, Pastor. How are you?
Glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good to, good to see you today. Glad, even though I didn't know you were moving to DC, it's good to have you on here today, okay? Okay. God bless you. Yeah. God bless you too. All right. And then certainly last but not least, the comedian, the entertainer, the Atlanta native, the Grady baby who was here with us last week. We started the show off with him last week, and the show got into a lot of trouble from the very beginning. That's why I saved him for last this time. Hopefully by saving him for last, we won't start World War VIII like we did last week when I opened up the show with him. He is a man of God, born and raised in the church all of his life, has a heart of gold. He does comedy, entertainment all over the world. I'm excited about him, and I'm also excited that he's going to be have his own show on Hope Network, Hope TV, in the next few days. So we're glad to have him back with us to offer the perspective from the male perspective. Alton Walker, what's up, comedian Alton Walker? What's up, my brother?
What's going on? And I know we using this for coronavirus, but I got
Yeah.
this for all my haters this week. I'm spraying all y'all. Come on. I'm ready.
So you can't read it tonight, huh? Yeah, I think you're gonna need it. You're gonna need that. You might need that and some raid tonight because they came for you, buddy. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Good,
Doing
good.
Doing
great.
well.
I'm gonna start off in the fire, Alton. I think it's a great conversation. One of the things we noticed last week is you opened the show up talking about red flags last week and some of the red flags that you had. And one in particular dealt with, finances, and being on the same level as a young lady you're trying to date. And you made some statements last week, and you took a beating, I understand, on social media. But
Yeah.
then you made a statement. The show closed last week, and one of our panelists said something similar to you on last week, but you felt that they didn't get the same type of agony that you got. You want to elaborate on that, please, sir?
Yeah, it's amazing, that women can say that they don't want a broke man, but a man can't say he don't want a broke woman. That was interesting last week. And all I said was I don't want a woman that is poor with finances. I'm not talking about bank account level or money in bank account, just how you handle money. I don't want that type of woman. And Miss Crawley said the same thing in a different way, and she got the praise. All the women, that's right, girl. That's right. And, I don't get it. Why a man can't say the same thing? It
So
was
what you're
interesting,
saying
Pastor.
is, so what you're saying is, we had this conversation about this whole thing with levels, that how men and women, we can date on our own levels. Dr. Heron, Lisa, you want to add something to that conversation? Is Alton correct? Is he incorrect? Is there a certain thing called levels? Is it commensurate in relationships? Please tell us what you feel about this.
So first, Alton's comment last week, I shared with him, some of the feedback that I got. I had a cohort of friends who were somewhat agreeable, yet there was also a cohort who was, a bit judgmental as well. I think it's a different playing field depending on who's taking the stage. For women to say, is it an expectation to date someone on the level? I think there is a high expectation of that. And I think that for men, they get a bit more of a pass. I think, for me, I do senior level work. I'll say something bold in saying that trying to find someone on the exact same level, I don't have to date somebody who has doctor before their name. It would be great, but it's not a mandate. But I would be criticized if they didn't have the exact same level of education. I think we get that criticism. I think men kind of get a pass.
Mm.
It's kind of, this is my trophy. This is, they'll say something else about her, and there's not a lot of question about what she does as much as it is maybe how she looks. That's what I think. That's what I think.
That's a good
All
point.
right.
You
Sarah,
should
you
have
want
said
to,
that
you want to jump
last
in
week,
there?
though, Lisa.
Plus one.
Dr.
No,
Lisa,
that
you
was
should have said it last
lovely.
week.
Absolutely. I'm
Nick,
saying,
you want to say
but
something to that?
what I'm also saying is that it's difficult for women. I think it's difficult for us as it relates to this conversation of equal or not equal in terms of whether it's socioeconomics, whether it's educated, etc. To put on the table how much you make. At what point do you even do that? And is that what we call equal? I don't know. I don't know. But it's difficult. I think it's
Nick,
difficult.
Nick, you want to say something to that?
No, I was just agreeing with what Lisa was saying. I
Me too.
think everything you said is right on, hits the nail on the head. I think oftentimes women, regardless of our position, we could have four PhDs. We could have four PhDs, own our own home, have five businesses on the side, and it might boil down to what do we look like at the end of the day when we're on the arm of a man
Mm.
who's got a bachelor's degree. And I not knocking that at all, but it's
Right.
almost as if sometimes we have to bring a lot more to the table. Plus, we got to wake up like Beyonce every day. So
Every day.
Sarah, what
Flawless.
you say?
Mm. No, I'm just listening. This is good. I agree with Dr. Sister. Yeah,
Well,
but this is interesting.
well,
I've
let me
never
ask
heard
this
it from that
question.
perspective before, so that's good.
that's
Well, let
great.
me ask this question. Let me ask this
Hmm.
question. Alton, because you got beat up for saying that you didn't want to date a woman who wasn't together financially, right? But if a woman
Exactly.
dates a guy and if money or status is a factor, then one of the things that she's colloquially called, we would colloquially call her a gold digger. I ain't
Boom.
saying you're a gold
Hmm.
digger. I'm just saying you're not gonna date a broke.
You
You
bring
fill in the blank.
Exactly.
it.
So
Right.
so
Right.
so so my question about that is, so is it good for the goose and good for the gander? Is dating a man, dating up? If a woman has to date up or she dates down, if you're dating up, does that make you a gold digger? What does that? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, because it seems like we're saying two different things. Alton is saying
It's
that he's lambasted for saying he didn't want to date somebody who's messed up, but Ayana can say the same thing, and you guys seem like that's fair. So I'm just trying to figure out, just trying to hear your consensus here. Alton?
it's celebrated, and this is my opinion. It is celebrated for a woman to have a hero. It's in the stories, it's in the love stories, it's in the princess's book, in the prince book. The prince come and take her and make her better and this and this and that. Yeah, I know y'all looking at me funny, but y'all know society has made that whole storyline of
Absolutely.
he's gonna come get you
That's
and make
right.
you better
Shut up.
and make you beautiful and Mr. Hero.
Give you the
I don't
world.
want to be
I'm
nobody
sure
hero.
you.
I don't want to make you better. You know what, Pastor? I'm to a point, I got a statement. I'm going to make a shirt. I am not dating any more clients. I know that's going to hurt some feelings. But if I feel like you're becoming a client, a person that I got to teach and build up and all the time, it's a coaching session with you, I am not dating you. Now, that's just me. I'm too old to be coaching my lover. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
Alton, you always going
So
to have to
it's
build
been
somebody up.
celebrated. I
Exactly.
mean, I get that, but if it's a one-way street, I
Right,
don't want to be nobody king and prince hero. I want
right.
somebody
That
that's gonna
brother come.
come and we gonna take over together. But if
So
I
it
find
shouldn't be
myself, we
dead
always
in
in the coaching session. No,
Hmm.
So, I'm, so Alton, I think you might be setting yourself up. Let me explain why. Because one of the things my dad would always say to me, I was engaged once, and anyway, that didn't work out. We talked about that last week. But that person should, number one, bring out the best in you, and that you should
Right,
sharpen each other. If you
right.
sharpen each other, I believe that there's a little coaching in that. You don't know what you don't know. I think unless you're saying from the very beginning, I'm saying that as we grow together, there might be some coaching in that. I'm open to that. But now, if I got to coach you from the very beginning, and maybe that's what you're saying, then that's a totally different encounter. But I wouldn't dismiss that as we grow together, we can coach together. I want to learn a little something from you. I don't want anybody I
together.
can't learn.
Absolutely.
So
That's
Alton,
all.
I would
I want to be
also
able to learn something. Yeah.
Alton, I would also venture to ask you the question, why do you keep attracting these women that need fixing?
Wait a minute. Wait a
Uh-oh.
I don't need no
I had to bring my
Lysol. We
lights on
clean
now.
over here. I got masks
Oh,
and
that was a
everything.
lifestyle moment. That
I'm
was a
here to ask the
lifestyle moment.
question.
It was a valid
But you
question.
gotta think about
I hate to say
it.
it.
Okay, and Pastor, you may can help me out with this. When you are when and I'm trying to say this in the best way. When you are in like this quote unquote limelight of what you call success and you're on stage and you're talking knowledge and
Yeah.
you're speaking like you're a pastor or you're a comedian, you know, sometimes you will attract people that like you and they will come to you and it will start off like advice or whatever and it'd be a attraction. But on my end, I had to start learning. It's hard for me. I had to start learning when, okay, Lord, is this someone I need to coach and be a client or date? Because they fine. And a lot of time I missed the mark because this was a person that I was just supposed to inspire. I wasn't supposed to date. So that's why I get that I can't date no more clients. I have to balance. Okay, are you a person I need to just inspire and have a coaching session with or date? Because the person I date, I need them to coach me sometime. And like she said, it need to be together. So it ain't that I attract, it's just the
Oh no.
the career I'm in attract that a lot.
That's fair.
Mhm.
Okay.
That
I'll
is
give you
fair.
that.
I think. Oh,
Where's Sarah?
I'm sorry. Okay. No, I think, when you talk about levels, I think the levels are very specific to, it's very customary. Like it's very customized. What you need and your levels might be different from what I need in my levels. What I'm willing to
You're right.
compromise on might be different from what you're willing to compromise
Very
on.
good.
What 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 you need someone to be up here with, I might not need that. It's relationships are so individual. It's like DNA. There's no one relationship the same. So it's kind of you're trying to find, dang near feels like a needle in a haystack to figure out, get the person that is on your level, if you will. But I think levels, it also deals with, I think it's more so with age. It's more so it's an age thing. Like, what do you have, what I'm not willing to deal with because of my age. So for
Right.
example, what I might have put up with in my 20s, I cannot put up with in my 30s. You
Hello.
have to have a
That's
certain
right.
level of something in order to date me at this point in time, because I've built up this. I need you to at least have this. It doesn't have to be the
At
same
minimum.
thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be something that could complement what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
already have so that we can build something
Agreed.
greater together. But we ain't building from scratch.
Right.
Let me ask this
That
question.
ain't so
Let me ask this question. And Nick, I want you to hit it, and I hear from everybody else. When we talk, because you hear the phrase all the time, there are levels to it. There are levels to this. So I want to dig into levels. When we talk about levels, can you name 5 things that are part of the levels, please? Please. Think 5 things.
I think one of my levels would include, and once we get past the things that are deal breakers for me, your, relationship with God, are you a Christian first and foremost? You come out the gate talking about you a atheist, I'm agnostic. We can't even continue the
Okay.
conversation. So all those
right.
things
Okay.
aside, I think for me, it does speak to your financial base at this age and stage in my life. I mean,
Right.
this is a business. We building a business at this point.
Come
Love
on.
ain't gonna pay the bills. And so I have a lifestyle that I have grown accustomed to, and I'd like to keep it. I don't need to incur all of your debt. So I think one of the levels is making sure that you are financially fit enough to understand how do we sustain and maintain a lifestyle that we are both accustomed to. So that's one of my levels. I leave the
Mm-hmm.
floor open.
So we got faith, we got finances. What else is included in levels? Anybody else? Maybe within
Intellect and
levels.
intelligence. And if I
Okay.
can say intellect and intelligence, can I be really clear that that's not tied to a degree, right? Not
Yes.
necessarily
Mm-hmm.
to a higher level degree, because I understand that that's not for everyone. But you can be
Mm-hmm.
brilliant, you can
Yes.
engage in conversation, you can be well versed, you can be well read, right? And have conversations, whether it's about the global pandemic or whether it's about, did you watch Empire last week? Doesn't matter to me, but there's some
Right.
level of intellect there.
Yeah.
You, that capacity to engage, that's, I think that's a game changer.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So intellect,
That's good.
sense, wisdom. Anybody else? We got faith,
Mm-hmm.
finances, intelligence. Anybody else? What else is on levels? Anybody else? I just want to see, just because I want to kind of give a rubric for what that looks like.
Can I be
Anybody else?
bold and say something, Pastor?
Please.
So people don't, I want to talk about health
That was my next one. That was my
what
next
that
That's
really
one.
yeah.
means,
That is a
right?
good one.
So I have 3 brothers, and I think for the most part they're all relatively healthy. They're athletes, etc. But it's not a you're not. I wouldn't avoid considering you because of size. I've never been petite. I've always been active, very physically active. But I don't wake up every morning hoping to look like Beyonce. I wake up every morning hoping to look like the best version of Lisa that I
Not
that I
myself.
can that I can
Right.
create. But health means you have a sense of taking care of yourself. You ain't got to run
That's
three
right.
miles every day or 3 miles a week, but you ought to have some sense around wanting to have longevity and health and taking
And
care of yourself. I don't want to confuse that with the perception of, you got to have this certain physical look. Although I think men fixate on that more than women do. I want to say that also.
Mm-hmm.
Alton,
That's
you can
good.
comment if you like, but
yeah,
I'm going to
I'm
say
waiting.
it.
I'm waiting.
Agreed.
And
No,
Come on,
because
anybody else?
Alton.
listen,
Okay.
We wait.
Pastor, you just you let them give a list. And now, mind you, they eat me up in the comment area. Now, these ladies just gave you a list, and no, everybody in here agreed with them. Nikki said finances. Another one was, she said health, and then she said
Religion.
intellect. Now, let me
Mm-hmm.
say, I want a woman, intellectual woman. I want somebody on my level intellectually. They would have ate me up. I just feel
No,
sometimes it's a
I
Oh.
don't
it's a
think so.
different.
Who are these
I don't
I'm
know.
people?
not talking
Alton
about
is
you
Right.
guys.
different.
I'm talking about these comments I'm reading. I'm talking about the comments. It's like they said, I'm not ready. This, and that. And I'm like, well, these women just gave you a list of stuff of that they want on their level. What's the difference between what a man said and a woman said? And I believe is because the training of what society has placed on us. A man has to, and I'm not saying it's true, but in the mind, it's
Right.
always a man has to build this woman up, pull her up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why is all, I mean, our women are doing great. Women are killing it. Black women are killing the game
Are killing it.
educationally, business wise, they're killing it. So that whole
Mm-hmm.
storyline of a man coming to be a hero, it's over. And I don't
Right.
want to be a hero. I want a woman, just like they said, on the same level financially,
Okay.
health, and would you
Spiritually.
say, Nikki,
Spiritually.
Spiritually.
intellectually.
Oh,
Why can't I
Yes.
say
spiritually.
that?
Mhm.
But
You
why can't you have
can.
You
standards?
can.
There's nothing that says that men can't have standards. And if that's your standard, then those are your standards, then there's nothing wrong with that. I think you need some
Not
new
at all.
friends.
Well,
Mhm.
I'm talking about your comment area. I'm talking about your friends in your comments over here.
Well,
You
I'm
need to
not
read
talking
these
about those
comments.
women because that's not who you're trying to attract.
Yep.
I'm
So,
just
so let me ask y'all.
saying.
So let me ask y'all this
That was a
question.
good point,
This
Nikki.
very important question.
Hmm.
I want to ask this question, and I'm gonna move on from this. And while we at it, let me thank our family back. They're back again from South Africa. The God bless y'all. It's
Oh,
2:45 over there. They're back again this week. Been with us all week long. Hope you enjoying this conversation. You gotta be grown and sex in South Africa if you're up at almost 3 o'clock in the morning to listen to this conversation. But welcome.
What y'all
But
do?
Oh
uh,
man,
yeah. But let
Amen.
me ask this question. I think here's part of the thing I heard with you, Al. I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. And I think I want to ask to all of you. I think why they're eating you up in the comments, maybe Alton right now, is because it sounds like there's no room for growth for you. It sounds
mm,
Mm,
like
gotcha,
the way you present
Mm.
it, it is if you want a perfect package. And I'm not saying you feel this
gotcha.
way, but I think that's
bit
how
off.
people may be perceiving it. That
Good
if she
point.
doesn't have these qualities on the first date, like you mentioned last week, there's no room for growth. There's no room for development. So I want to ask that for everybody. If somebody's not on my level, the levels that you mentioned, at what point does potential go out the window? I know when you're at 20s, I can see potential in somebody. You get in your 30s and 40s, then potential kind of minimizes somewhat. But is there any growth area for you, Alton, and for the other three panelists? Any growth areas? I mean,
I, it depends on what it is, because again, we're talking about grown and sexy. I think that's
Hmm.
what I think the point we missing. Like we're not children no more. We're not teenagers. We're not in our 20s no more. So if you're coming to me and you're poor with finances at the age of 35 and up, or intellectually you're not there and you're 40. I had one woman told me, a man told her, you're great, you're inspiring. You need to help me out. This and this. And I'm like, come on, I'm too old for that. I don't want to feel like I am coaching someone through life, someone that I'm supposed to be loving. I just don't want that. So yes, it's room for growth, but it depends on what that situation is.
What it is.
So
Mm-hmm.
I can speak to
Because
that from a
I'm
personal
older.
level. My last
Mm-hmm.
committed relationship was with somebody who, if we're talking about levels, we were on two different playing fields. If you want to just say blue collar, white collar, he was more of a blue collar guy. I was working in a more white collar environment that required me to be very front and center, doing a lot of different things with a lot of different people. And so, what that relationship provided me was a lot of peace of mind at night. I didn't have to go home and worry about the
Right.
status thing that I was dealing with people trying to get
Right.
to know my network, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so in dating him that was fine, but I'm gonna tell you, after a while, it got to a point where the discomfort between our worlds became very apparent. And
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
so so speaking to what you're saying, Alton, is that um there's got to be some opportunity to see if a person can get to that place. But I gave him the
Right.
fair shot to see, okay,
Mm-hmm.
are our two worlds going to be able to merge, or is this going to be like oil and water, so to speak? And
Mm-hmm.
it eventually did not work out. We're cool now, but it just was my level of ambition and what he wanted out of life just eventually bumped heads. But I didn't figure that out in 1, 2, or 3 dates. It took time for me to see, because at his core, he had all of the fundamental things that I needed in a man. That was it. So, I mean, I think to what Pastor is saying, you got to give people a chance to actually show you who they are, because folks are showing up with their representatives. Give people a
That's
chance,
right.
and you're gonna be dating
That's
all these
right.
women in the comments forever.
Nah, you I can but you hear like but most of the times though, and this is why I be serious about red flag, because most of the time we hear what we don't like in that first conversation, and you try to give someone a chance. And then it's 2 years down the line, then you go back, you know what, he did tell me that. on the first date. And it's like, well,
Mm.
you just spent 2 years with somebody you already knew this about that person. So why
Well,
would you
that's your
wait
fault
and you
because
already knew you
I
didn't like that?
you adjusted
years.
your deal breakers. You had deal breakers up front. You knew things that were not going to rise to the occasion, and you knew things that you were not going to stand for, and you allowed yourself to agree to them. So that's on you. That's not on them.
And can I comment
Right.
on Nikki's statement around deal breakers? And so I love the way you said that you adjusted your deal breakers, because I think many of us are guilty of adjusting deal breakers sometimes,
Yes, we all adjust.
depending on the gap, right? Depending on how well Alex is spraying you, but depending on what that time frame has been, or like when was the last date? Don't ask that question, Pastor. But I think if too much time lapses, people start going, well, let me go check it out. But at some point in your core, or in your gut, or in your head, it's not going to work, and so you have to be true to yourself, I think, in that regard. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think it's also situational. I think it's
Yeah, yeah.
incredibly situational.
Mm-hmm. It's
I want to
situational
come
But
at
for
it. I want to come at it
me.
I'm
different.
not trying to.
Go ahead, Alton.
No, but I've talked to a lot of women. I had these conversations with women, and a lot of times women will adjust their deal breaker. And most of the time, I
With
feel
you.
when women do it, that relationship never works. Like I know a
Agreed.
woman personally dated a dude that said he don't want to be married. He said that in
Thought she
in
could
the first
change.
time he met her. She stayed with him thinking he adjust and thinking he could change, she could change his mind.
You
5 years down
cannot
the line, he still
change.
don't want to get married. So why are
You cannot.
we adjusting deal breakers at the age we are at? We are 35 and up. We're 40 and up. Why are we
Mm.
still adjusting? Sometimes I think you need to. Some things you just can't adjust. It's just I can't adjust that, baby. I peace out.
Because I think what
There's a
happens at this
difference.
age is companionship. That companionship piece starts to come into play. People
There
start
you
to
go.
have that sense of comfort and just having somebody there. And that's where your deal breakers start to adjust as you get older, because it's like, well, I'd rather have somebody that I can watch Netflix with. I know he ain't got no job. He missing 4 teeth in the front. But you know
But now
what?
wait a
At
minute.
least he's warm.
Now
He's
wait a
a
minute.
warm body. This
No,
pillow
ma'am,
ain't gonna
Nikki.
hurt for me.
You gonna have some
I'm
teeth
just
in your mouth.
saying.
She's so funny. She is
I'm
so
just
funny.
saying.
You know,
That's
no
what
ma'am, no
happened.
sir.
And you're gonna
Lord, if he
look.
just got
Sarah,
one
you want to say
tooth, I
something?
just need one tooth, Lord.
No, it's a big difference between, like we were talking about, and I'm kind of rewinding a little bit, deal breakers, but you have that whole 80-20 rule. Like when people have the majority of what you need, if you can find a way to
Yeah.
that 20 is workable, like something that they're
Yeah.
willing to grow with, something they admit to, something that they are you some actively trying to work towards, it will help you get there, because I believe in you and you have the majority of what I need already. And if you can, that other piece, I'm not going to just knock you off for that, because I could be
Agreed.
throwing away something that's meant for me completely, that he's growing in, just like I'm growing in some certain areas as well.
Because you can't
I'm
buy
gonna throw
ditches
this
for
at
him,
you.
Nick.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm gonna throw this at you, and we keep it moving. My late mentor and godfather, Dr. Willie Reed, he said to me once, and I think it's apropos for this panel and any conversation. He said you have to ask yourself to consider the worst things that you don't like about that person who you be maybe dating or seriously, and name a list of the things that you love. Name a list of the things that you hate that you would change, that get on your nerves, the things that irk you. And once you come up with a list of things that you don't like or that irk you or you can't stand or you would change about them, you have to ask yourself this question: what if they never change? Could
Hmm.
I be
That's
with
it,
this
man.
person for the rest of my life if these things that I don't
That's
like
good.
and the things that irk me, if these things, if I can't accept this and be happy with this for the rest of my life, then that's a sign that it may be time to move on to something else. I
That's
think
right.
this is a good conversation.
Yeah.
I want to ask this
That's
question.
heavy.
We've
That's
been
good.
talking about something that's important, and we did some pre-interview questions, and the producer told me that came up with a question. I want to raise it to you as well. Have you guys? What are your thoughts on dating outside of your race? 40 and over, 40 and older. The lack of men in most metropolitan cities in terms of black men. They say. Uh, what are your thoughts on dating outside ladies outside of your race? And you, Alton, you too, Alton. But there's no shortage of women. But I just want to ask that question.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it, but I don't think I can bring them home to my parents at all. Honest to God, I'm sorry. I
Wow.
hope my parents aren't watching right now, but I can't do that. I can't do that. And then the other thing is I don't think that he'll understand me fully. That's the heavy part of it for me, especially in the day and time we're living in. Things not change, the things change, the more things stay the same. And with them and things that's going on in the world, I kind of need you. We got to be able to run this race together, and I mean full out together. And I don't know how. Some people can do it. I don't think that I could personally do it.
Nikki?
So my dad is the youngest of 11 kids, and out of his 5 brothers, he's the only one married to a Black woman. So I have a very interracial family. I have an Asian aunt, I've
Mm-hmm.
got a German aunt, I've got an all-white aunt. So when my family gets together, folks don't believe us until we show ID cards with our last names on it. And
I love it.
so, yeah, and so I'm open to it. It's been something I've been exposed to my entire life. But when I tell you I love me a chocolate man, I
Come
don't know that
on.
I can do it either.
Nothing like it.
I'm
Gotcha.
open to it. I understand it. And if that's who God sends me and my Boaz comes in a lighter skin package, then that's okay. But right now, my preference is a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa?
Yeah, so I have absolutely thought about it. I have even been approached, but I didn't. I didn't bite, and I'm gonna just have to pick up where Nikki left the mic, right? So I have all my life been surrounded by amazing Black men. When
Mhm.
I see King in my eyes when they're closed, I see a man of color. I see an African American man. Um, I see what I have seen all my life, and I
Yeah.
believe that that's my compatibility. And I want to be able to celebrate that and be partnered with that. Now, that's not to say
Mm-hmm.
that it couldn't occur. There would have to be something, Pastor. If I was like meet, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a name to be silly, but
Miguel.
meet
Miguel.
Biff, right? You
Oh,
got to
Biff.
know
Okay.
there was something about Biff that was incredibly amazing, and I do believe that those things can happen. But for clarity, the king beside this queen is a Black man, and I have
All right.
no judgment for anyone who chooses
Me
otherwise. No
neither.
judgment.
Me neither at
All right.
all.
Red flag. Red flag. What are your thoughts about dating outside of your race?
No, no, I love my Black women too much, man. As I grew older, I'm sorry, white women just don't do anything for me. I'm not turned on by them. I don't know if it's a psychological thing. I don't know.
It's
I
pre-
just not. I'm not turned on by them
Yeah.
at all. And I didn't. Hope I ain't say nothing crazy, but I'm being
No.
honest and
No,
I'm being open that
no,
I,
no.
when I'm around them, I don't. And it's just
it's
a
your
try. I
preference. Your
just don't.
preference.
I'm trying to stay away from
Well,
saying what I want to say, but no,
yeah. Well, it's just
I just
preferences.
leave it
It's
like
just
that. I did good.
everybody
I did
everybody has a
good.
preference.
You did well. You did well.
Nikki, you said something earlier that I thought was very intriguing with the pre-interview questions about one of the challenges that you met in terms of dating is that a lot of men, even in dating, expect what, as you call it, submission from their girlfriends. I
Mhm.
want to kind of get into that. What does that
Yes.
What does that mean? Because we've
Talk
heard a
about
whole lot. I'm from the South. I'm a Southern gentleman raised, you
Yes.
know, Macon, Georgia, and
Whoop whoop.
every man has heard the word submission. Even men who don't go to church, they know there's one scripture in the Bible that women are supposed to submit to their husband, right? So you said something about submission. I want to just pick that because I think that's a very interesting word. What has been your experience with that in terms of submission? What does that mean to you? And who has expected that from you?
So there have been a number of different people who have their expectations as far as what submission means. And for me, I have grown up, both my parents, seeing my mama cook and seeing, make plates and all these different things. But that's
Right.
just what I'm accustomed to, right? That's been my environment. And so there are things that I do
Yeah.
naturally because those are innately built inside of me.
Yes.
However, there are
Yes.
also some things that I do not do that maybe your mama did. And I did not grow up seeing and I wasn't accustomed to. And that's part of your definition of submission. And I think what
Mhm.
happens, especially as when I was younger, I always had guys that were like, oh, I want a woman that's gonna do this and do that, make my plate and wash my clothes and do that. And I'm like, you need to call your mama. I'm not your mama and I'm not your wife. I do not see a ring on my finger. So I heard a pastor say, once, there's where women mess up oftentimes is they're trying to submit to somebody who's not submitted to them, who's not committed to
Mm.
them, excuse me. And so
Wow.
you cannot submit before he commits. And so for me, I think that there's a level of growth that comes with it. So if part of your definition of submission are the things that I innately have inside of me, that's one thing, but do not call it submission. That's just my natural behavior. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that
Anybody
Yeah.
answered
else?
your question, Pastor.
Lisa, I know you got something to say right
I,
there.
Well, I do, and so, here again, I agree a great deal with Nikki in that regard. I've had girlfriends, and we have had this ongoing debate about making a plate. Right? I grew up in a household where you make the plate. Right? When we're all together, I see plates being made for spouses. I don't have an issue with that.
Mhm.
I don't know if you call that submission or if you just call that
Yeah,
honor because that's where you're
yeah,
comfortable. I love to
It's
yeah,
honor.
cook. Right? And so I don't
Me too.
have
Me
this
too.
restriction around, even in my very demanding schedule. I know that if my meal is nurturing you and that nurtures us, I'm all right with that. Let's be realistic around it, giving schedules, but I don't call that submission. I just call
Love.
that's my act
that's
of
what I
love.
do.
But now the
Yeah.
other conversations around submission, and I think Nikki said it so well. I think why some of us are not married, and I don't, I mean, maybe if we were talking to 20 something or 30 something year old Lisa, I'd have some guilty moments here, but submitting before committing is the problem. And I appreciate that Nikki said
Mhm.
that, because at
Me
this
too.
stage in life, I'm not submitting before committing. Been there, done that. I didn't win a trophy for it, and I didn't get my return on my investment in that regard. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that. But I also think there's a definition around submission, right? Because I don't
Mm,
want to confuse submission with honor, right? I
mm,
don't want to confuse submission with acts of love. And I also am curious about what's the reciprocal, right? So it's one thing if I
Mhm.
do. So what you doing, right? And how do you,
yeah, yeah.
what does that
Mhm.
look like? I think that's another consideration to it as well.
Sarah, then
Mhm.
Halton. So what's your thoughts, Sarah?
oh,
No, I just absolutely agree with both of the ladies. I'm the same way. I grew up in a household. To this day, my mom, she cooks for my father, and it gets even really weird. Like he, will critique her food, and but like all that. So I'm used to that whole thing. But yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna submit before we get married in that sense. But I do, if I go out with my guy and we've been talking, we've been together for for a good little time here. I will make his plate at a family gathering. I have no problem with that. It's just an innate thing, but it's not. Um, I don't submit to him in all ways because he doesn't get
Right.
that until, like we talked
That's
about, until he
right.
gets a ring on the finger. Yeah.
All right. Alton?
well, I would like to answer a little what Lisa was saying. What does that look like? Because that scripture is Ephesians 5. Women submit to your husband. But
All
the
right.
second part,
Husband.
oh, I'm going there. If you have your Bible, but the second part to that thing that says, "Men love your wife like Christ loved the church."
The
Come on
church.
Now,
now. That's it.
that is deeper than what we think, and I believe if a
Way
man
deep.
don't even understand the love of Christ, they'll never know how to love you. Christ one died for all the sins of the world. So that if that man ain't willing to die for you, that's
Come
one. But
on.
the second
Sacrifice.
part, Christ took the blame. Now I die for you, but take the blame. God, dog. Woo, woo. That means everything that
Woo.
woman do is placed on that man. Now, if you have a man that'll die for you and take the blame, that's a man that you should want to submit to. That's a man that you
Absolutely.
should want to do, But I
Absolutely.
also believe that scripture was wrote at a certain time where women couldn't do a lot of stuff. You couldn't vote. You couldn't do it there. So we living in a different time. I think submission is gonna
Agreed.
have to go in both parts. Some areas you're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
submit to your wife. In some
Yeah.
areas she's gonna have to submit to you because we did living in a different world. Our women are way more powerful than they were when Paul wrote
Partnership.
that scripture.
That's
Agreed.
true.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I want to interject one more time. I like to hear from you guys, but that's a subject that I heard so much about, the Ephesians 5 passage. And when I researched that, really as a scholar, in terms of New Testament, what I found is it really starts in verse 21 when it says submitting yourselves to each other. When I read the original Greek manuscripts, you discover that it's not even in Ephesians 5:22. The original manuscript never says why submit. It's borrowed from Ephesians 5:21, which says the submission goes, as you said, out in all ways. The man has a great act
Both
of
ways.
submission. He's got to love the woman like Christ loved the church. The woman submits, and what it
Woo.
literally means is she leaves her kingdom, as she's a princess in her own kingdom. She
Mm-hmm.
voluntarily relinquishes her position there as a queen, a princess, to come up under him. So
Mm.
she submits to come up under him. But then the parents have to submit to the kids to not raising them
That's
up
right.
in anger, and then children submit to the parents
Right.
by listening to them. So it's not we made submission husband wife, but it's really a mutuality. It really means come up
Mm.
underneath to make their needs become yours. But we just have blew it out. So it's really
Mm.
not in the Ephesians 5:22. It's borrowed from Ephesians
Mm,
5:21. Just want to throw that in there. So because women
That's
have
good.
been
that's
that
good.
verse has been used to kind of
That's real good.
oppress women
Mm-hmm.
and subjugate women,
Yeah.
but it's not in Ephesians 5:22
Very much
in the
so.
original manuscripts. It's submission goes all the way
Amen.
around. Let me ask this question, Lisa, because I think it's a great question. We kind of hit it a little bit last week, but I'm curious to hear all your takes on it. One of the things that we talked about last week was the responsibility of initiating relationships, and you guys kind of hit it a little bit, but there's a whole lot more meat on that bone. Some of the challenges that guys have with communicating. Who is
Yes.
responsible for initiating the initial encounters? Whose responsibility is it? Is it all male? Can a woman be involved in initiation? How do we hold men accountable? If a man doesn't say anything, I just want to hit that for a moment because since we are talking about women are powerful and women have their rights and women, because my question is, are we confusing roles in relationships with submission?
Right.
And
Right.
Uh-oh. Getting
and
deep
then to
here.
what extent do we muzzle women? Is it muzzling women? Have we put this whole piece on women that if you initiate something, then you're not a woman or you're fast?
Right.
Have our
Right.
stereotypes limited women in terms of are you being overly aggressive? Are you being my mom was a hussy? Are you going too
Being
fast? So I want to
fast.
talk about that a moment
Real
in terms
fast.
of 2020. Who has the right to initiate a conversation or interact engagement with the opposite sex?
Ooh, so, Pastor, Lord Jesus, um, I agonize about that in my head all the time. Just real talk, just real talk. I'm gonna sound like just an ongoing set of contradictions in the next several statements. In a perfect world, in a perfect
Hmm.
world, I would never
Yeah.
have to initiate because in my fantasy mind, maybe I'm at the bookstore and he sees me and he walks up and he starts a conversation. By the way, that really is the way anyway. Yeah. So, but we eye each other
I love it.
and you see him seeing you, and you really have this expectation that a man is going to take the lead, and he over there thinking the same thing. And so you saw my disappointment in that, because it's almost as though the role is that men take the first
The lead.
step. Right. Because that's almost like the leadership role, right? But the truth of the matter is, we're in a day and age where while I'm over here looking, somebody else looking as well, and she doesn't even pay me any attention. She's walked over there, touched him on his shoulder, started a conversation, and I just watched the whole moment go by. So then I'm confused and
Mm.
frustrated thinking about what I should have done. And in the world of
Hmm.
social media and online dating, which I can give you all a host of nightmares on. So I don't care for it. Although I have friends who found success, this one didn't. Everybody's either swiping right or swiping left, right? I just don't care for that. I
Mhm.
like the human interaction, but I do struggle
Mhm.
as a single professional woman who is a leader, even in my capacity. What I do every day, I would much rather be approached. But if that king walked in the room, I might have a subtle way of of trying to be seen without it being that blatant. But I will kick myself if I don't do something. But in my heart, I want the man to do it. I just do. Yet I think men know that they have more choice. They know that there are more women. I think they sit back and they're like, I'm gonna let her do it, and if she doesn't, somebody else will. And now all of us walking around here single or just in all of these situationships, and it's incredibly frustrating. And it is unfair that it's role driven. It's that old school, new school mindset. I want to be old school, but I feel like I got to be new school if I don't want to stay single. That's what I
Mhm.
believe. That's my reality. And
Good.
at 40 something, right?
Lisa,
That's good.
I mean,
That's
Nikki.
good, Lisa.
So I would plus one everything that you just said, and I would also venture to say that society has put us in more of a dominant role. I mean, there are even apps now
Yeah.
that it is on the woman to make the first move. I
Mhm.
won't shout out that particular app, but I'm certain you
I
all
know
know
what you're
which one
talking
I'm
about.
talking about.
Mhm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
there are those applications that put the woman in a more of an aggressive posture, and for me that's difficult. Now I have used dating apps, I have met people on dating apps, gone on dates and things of that nature, but I too have not found success. I have friends as well who have been successful, married, very long relationships, on dating apps, and I am genuinely happy for them. But that medium is not always what works for everyone, and so
That's
I think there's a dot 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 to one of the things that you just said in terms of women um adjusting, I'll say adjusting to this modern day dating thing. So I also think that there's a little bit of expectation that comes in dating nowadays, that women will be more aggressive because there are so many of us out there who are putting
right.
up with certain things and who have adjusted the roles,
Mhm.
right? And so there's this level of expectation that a woman is going to behave in a certain way or do things in a certain way, because they ain't been coached, they don't know no better, they don't have no role models
Right.
telling them that, baby girl, you don't have to do all of this to
Right.
get
For
his
that, right.
attention. And
Mhm.
so I struggle with that because I'd like to say I have some kind of like traditional values that I still uphold, and I too have that fantasy, except mine is in the grocery store and he helps me
Right.
pick out a cantaloupe. So I
Girl.
just
Get something
See
for the
how we
next
have
time we
it? We
sell.
have
we
it.
gonna pick this fruit out and then we gonna go to the house and have brunch. Like, what are we talking
Right.
about here? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just, I do believe that roles have been reversed in a lot of different ways. I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman letting a man know that she's available, though, right? We
Right.
can't be hiding
Right.
behind the car acting like we don't want nobody, but I don't think it requires us walking around with a neon sign over our head. So,
Right.
yeah.
And Sarah, you're probably the most introverted, uh, perhaps personality-wise, out of the group of ladies on the panel.
Mhm.
So, in terms of the relationship that you're in now, you find some happiness, you find some healing.
Mhm.
Was it up to this guy, this young man, to approach you? Did you
Hmm.
make yourself
Um,
available? I mean,
and when he approached me, I really wasn't even looking. I was very in self care mode, and I just want to make it clear that my healing took place before he even approached me. Like it was like before we got into a relationship, should I say? Um, but yeah, he approached me. I'm grateful he approached me. He comes from the same school I come from, or that I was raised under. And I have to make a fix that where I said the Cosby Show was Family Matters. I'm sorry, it was Family Matters, not the Cosby Show.
okay.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Yeah, it
That's
was
what.
Family Matters. But yes, no, he approached me. I mean, I have on a serious note, I have social anxiety. It's hard for me to have be in, you know, big crowds and have, you know, meaningful conversations. But if you get me one-on-one, we can have the most wonderful conversation. You'll find the most loyal friend. You'll find, you know, all kinds. I'm crazy, I'm fun, I'm weird, all this kind of stuff. But those things don't easily come out for me. And there's a lot of women who are like me who deal with that. So it's kind of like, you know, what do we do? And I unfortunately depend on a man approaching me, being confident enough to approach me. And I think that also stems from them being like Dr. Lisa said, in the leadership role. We're always taught the men are the head of the house, the men are the leader, the leader, the leader, the leader, the leader. If they're the lead, then lead the relationship. Come unto me,
Right. Right.
and you might find rest. Like, come, you know what I'm saying? Like, you, it's a whole. I don't know. I'm just.
Good.
I
That
can't do it.
confidence.
And I've tried. And even like some of my friends have said, you know, well, just look at him, you know, just give him a look, you know, I feel like I'm acting. It's like, you know, I can do that when
Right.
I'm acting,
Right.
but I can't, I feel so uncomfortable. And I'll see a man coming, like when I was single, I see a man coming and I would look away or I'd look down and then I'd be like, dang it, why did I do that? You know? And I even got to a point where right before he came, I would try it. Are you laughing at me, Alton? It's not funny. I thought you were laughing at me. Were you laughing? You were laughing at me? Okay, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to just sum it up. I can ramble on
Yeah,
because
It's
there's
hard
yeah.
in
no
these
My
shame
thing
being
streets.
an
is,
introvert.
yeah, my thing is we talk about this equality and, you know, liberation and freeing women up and from whatever idiosyncrasies or traditions or religious presuppositions, but seems like there's still a innate kind of discomfort about this. Alton, in terms of you, I want to hear from you. I mean, are you the aggressor, or are you the one who sits back? Because I want to hear. Where are you in this conversation, sir?
I can be both. I think I'm gonna write a book, Pastor, because here's the thing. I want women, our black women, especially our black women, to just own the power that you guys have. Like that old school stuff is not here no more. You guys are amazing and you are brilliant and you are powerful. And we said it last week. I'm tired of women dimming their light so they can make a man feel like he's a man. I'm tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also
Mm-hmm.
tired of men who know they got a powerful woman and you will allow her to sit back on her power. You know she's talented. You know she's brilliant. You know she has dreams and aspirations. And you will let her be a trophy or whatever and put her stuff to the side when you know the things she's capable of doing. And so I'm tired of that. And I just want women to feel like own it. Look, if you got see a dude across the room, hey man, come here. Come look, what's the name? You know what I'm saying? Because that's all I'm saying. You'll get me. I'm like, hey, I hear I come. What you want? Like that
May
doesn't
I say
bother me.
something else?
You know what I'm saying? It's
You
just
know
a
what?
different day of age. That sitting back and just kind of like just waiting. I just think women did it for a long time, and it was a reason why y'all did it. But this time, these day and age, man, y'all too powerful to sit back and
Agreed.
not go get what y'all want. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed.
I receive what Alton said. May I, Pastor, real
Mm-hmm.
quick?
Sure,
Um,
please.
I received what he said, but I'm gonna say this. You know, my day-to-day work is being a leader all day. You know, dealing with men, women, older than me, different, all day. And when I think about my personal partner, I don't want to be the leader. I want someone to soften me. I want someone to remind me of that part of me that God created. And I hear you. So I think you're right. I think you're right that this day and age has made it difficult, but I will wrestle with myself for eternity, you know, around the idea that I have to acquiesce to that when I sound like a contradiction if I say I want a man to lead, and here I am leading, trying to start this trying to initiate what he probably has the capacity to do,
Yeah.
but society has overshadowed it. And then if I lead that, what else do you want me to lead? I need you to be. I need. I just.
Well,
So I'm not
well,
saying I
let me.
struggle.
Can I say something? Because okay, I'm in the entertainment, so I do comedy. I go to comedy clubs and I do comedy and I do comedy. So if I'm off stage. and I'm shaking people's hands, I miss a lot of women that's probably interested. So I may not see you and be like, oh, hey, how you doing? I may not see that. But if you come up to me and I see that you, oh, okay, because I'm shaking hands. I'm trying to, get the people and, hey, thank you for coming out. So if you're a woman and you want to holler at me, come on. Come
Well,
talk to
Alton,
me.
that's
Let me
also
know.
assuming she knows your status. I mean, there are still women left in the world who respect a relationship and respect your status, your relationship status. And so I think the challenge with a woman being that aggressive is that you don't always know. His woman could be standing in the shadows
Right there.
watching
Right.
or over there collecting the receipts for the t-shirts. So
I
there's
mean, you got to be careful of that. But I'm single. Let y'all know that I'm single. If you see me at the comedy club and I don't see you looking, come holler at me. And I
And I,
agree. Like, I'm a man. I'm going to lead. I'm going to lead my family. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to allow my wife to dim her light. If it's areas where she
that's
can lead and
different.
I'm not great at leading,
I was getting ready to say
I'm
that's
gonna let her
completely
lead.
different.
That's different. Those are two
Like
different
You see what I'm
Alton,
saying?
things.
I want to speak to what you said a second ago. I just want you to know, just because we might not want to initiate a conversation, please understand there is much power that lies within us that they will get
Yeah,
exposed to if they come up to us,
yeah,
and they'll see the power
yeah.
that we hold. It doesn't mean that just because we are soft or um don't like to be in the forefront. Trust me, we have a lot of power. We know how to run our world. And
Mhm.
once you get into it, you'll see that. But it doesn't mean it's not the same thing. So I just want to be clear
The
with that
other part
part.
that I want to challenge too, if I have 1 second, is that there have been
Sure.
experiences, especially in my 20s, where I have given too much of myself too quickly. And I have shown
Come
you
on.
too many of my cards up front when I needed to keep that deck to myself, right?
That's good,
I
Nikki.
let I,
Hmm.
I led with the big joker, and I ain't need to. I needed to save that to the end. And I
Hello.
think that is something that I have just learned to do differently as I've gotten older, because I need to make sure that you hear from me and not what I look like or what you think I'm gonna bring to the table. I think
That's right.
you know what I'm saying. And so I
I
think
agree.
there's some things that you just got to do differently.
Yeah,
And
and
plus,
Shawnee,
the reason
I'm
why
a
Shawnee,
I
chaser. I love the chase now. I
I was
love
getting ready to
I
say,
love
isn't
that
there a
But
chase
not
chase?
a lot of men like
me
to chase
personally
anymore. There are not a
let me
lot of
because
ask
they
you.
men
don't
like
have
that
I
to.
don't
chase.
want you then. I don't
Pastor.
want you if you don't want to chase. You don't understand that. I'm good.
Well,
They ain't got to
we just saw
chase
a
y'all no
comment.
more.
We just saw a comment by Chandra Daniel. She said she's not chasing nobody. What does chasing? So is initiating a conversation. What is chasing? Two questions. What constitutes chasing? What constitutes a man?
Exactly.
So if a woman introducing herself, is that chasing? That's number one. Number two, what does when you say I want a man to lead? That sounds real cute, but I want to know, what does that mean? I want a man to lead, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about, what does that mean? I want a man to lead. Oh, so twofold question. What constitutes chasing? I ain't chasing nobody. Number one. Number two, what constitutes a man leading? What does that mean? Anybody?
Introducing yourself to someone is not
Not a chase.
them chasing
Not a
someone.
chase.
You can
That's
always
not a chase.
introduce yourself
Thank
to
you.
someone. We do that day in and day out with business or personal. What was the
Professional.
other question,
But
Pastor,
but but you
about
won't
the
do it though.
leading?
But you won't do it. But you
I
won't do it,
well
Sarah.
that I have other issues,
Uh,
Pastor.
uh
Social anxiety. Trying to give you all these
okay.
excuses. I don't know. I really clam up. I don't know. It's me, and I'm working on that. Pray for me. I'm
Okay.
working on it. I really am.
Well, you
Just
may
in
not.
general with.
Okay.
Go ahead. I might
You
not
may not
I,
like
have
you
to
no more,
now.
huh? Hello, Ann.
Right.
Hey, I know you watching. um, but yeah, no. As far as the leading is concerned, I mean it kind of stems back to how we were raised. I mean, y'all told us that men are the head of the household. The Bible tells us this, that, and the others, and all. So we're trying to follow that. I don't know. You guys, ladies, chime in, but I'm just saying it comes from
yeah.
what we were taught.
And so I don't think that saying hello, I agree. I agree with Sister Sarah. I don't think that saying hello is chasing. But I can tell you this,
No,
if I say hello, I'm not going to chase you around 2 or 3 times to keep
not
saying
after
hello for
that.
you to say hello
No.
back. And I
Hmm.
also think that if I say hello and I've said it in that soft, flirtatious way, we both, I hope, are smart enough to know that that is an intro for you to your next question, Pastor,
To go.
take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does
Mm-hmm.
leadership look like in that space?
Yes.
And so I'm actually glad you asked that question. And I don't know that I have the
Yes,
perfect
ma'am.
answer, but if the army of sisters are around us, I think what we think leadership looks like is called taking initiative. So every time we talk now, because I said hello, I got to call you first. Every time, and or if there is a time when we go out, because I said hello, I initiate that first. I think leadership is really about initiation, because the way you initiate those next several acts with me tells me that you're interested. That's what I meant around taking the lead, right? At least that's what I
Yeah.
thought it meant when I said it. And I think as you build this chemistry with each other, you fall into a balance. So then it's not
Mm-hmm.
that I'm codependent on you doing that all the time, but I saw you taking the lead to make it happen first, because it's the same thing that happens 6 months later where we're now so deep in love. I expect you to take the lead to take the relationship to the next level. And then if that, when what I mean by next level is in terms of long-term relationship, marriage, etc., it's the same leadership role I expect you to take, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been, we pulled from scripture. We have this belief too that the man takes the lead in bringing forward matrimony, and those are the thoughts that I have when I think
Yeah, that's
leadership.
the point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can tell you,
And
guys, you allow a woman to take lead in the beginning of the relationship, that's going to be her position for the remainder of it. And so it's going to be very difficult, especially for men who want an ambitious woman who already sits in a leadership position. If you are putting her in that posture where she is going to take the lead, then that's going to be her expectation, because there's plenty of women who will do that, and there are men who like that. But for those of us who prefer a man to take initiative and to initiate, um, or at least to keep things moving along, to show interest, I think that's part of it. Women are naturally emotional creatures. We are naturally going to um, be mushy and gushy about things. And you meet somebody and you're willing to, you already then wrote his name down in your little notebook and said, I done met this man or whatever. He may be thinking something completely different. You know what I
Thinking
mean? And
about the
so
other
to
one.
have a man not only take initiative but show interest consistently is what a woman is looking for. And I think that those are two
Absolutely.
qualities that define
Hey.
leadership in a relationship.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
well,
Agreed.
here's my
That's
thing.
good.
The difference is this: a woman chasing a man. Here's the difference. If you're chasing a man and he's not showing interest, he's not calling you, he don't want you. Period. It's
But
different
I'm
from
not
a
getting to
woman.
the chase. That's the part. We're
Here's the
saying do
difference.
not
Hold on.
chase.
What I'm saying is this. Here's the difference. A man coming after a woman and she don't answer, or she want to see how much you want her. It's a difference. Like women, y'all lead the
Yes,
chase.
sir.
I'm telling
No.
you, y'all will
We
lead.
are just
Well,
Sir.
yeah.
I know
Yes,
some of
sir.
y'all like the chase. Y'all don't want to make yourself quit. When a woman does it, that doesn't necessarily she don't want you. She just want to see how much you like her. Are you
Uh,
serious? A man is
We
different.
play
If he
Milton,
that
ain't
too to
showing no
play
interest,
We
we
too
he
too
don't
old to
want
play
you.
them
we too
games.
We too
old for
old to
that,
play them
Milton.
games. We
Well,
I'm
too
like, what
old
is
for that.
that?
well then I'm glad
Just
y'all,
like y'all.
because that's
Just
most of
like
the time what it is.
I'm
just like
telling
Most of
y'all.
the
you.
time y'all love
If
that
we
chase.
don't show any interest, we ain't
Then
interested.
we not
At
interested.
this age, ain't
Exactly.
nobody waiting to see
Y'all
how
will
long you gonna
answer,
chase me,
We're not
bruh.
wasting each other's time like that.
y'all will answer
That's
the
us
phone call,
now.
but y'all ain't gonna answer as much.
Which means stop calling me.
let me
That
let
part.
me ask let me ask this question: is it that you want the man to take lead in the relationship, or just lead in initiating? Because I'm looking at like Lisa and I'm wondering about you, Nick. I'm not sure, and even you too, Sarah. But I'm wondering, you got a lot of men rather, you know, their favorite line is whatever you say, baby, once they get into marriage, because they realize that whatever happens, where we're gonna eat, where we're gonna go, that it's and inevitably she wants to have a say in all what those things look like, whether it be vacation, whether it be what the hotel, whether it be I mean
Right.
whatever, what the kids gonna go to school, and so who the doctor's gonna be. So a lot of men, it's whatever you say. So in their mindsets, it is just be quiet because they're gonna want to run it anyway. So my question is that a fair assessment or is that an unfair assessment of the expectations and the role of some guys that hey, I'm just gonna be quiet because if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So if
Ain't
that's the
nobody
truth,
happy. Right.
who's really leading in the relationship?
I think you have
So,
to play on the
Pastor,
different strengths. Oh no, go ahead, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Nikki.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I
I'll
was just
answer.
I was just gonna say, I think you have to recognize what the strengths are in the relationship. For me, I'm not always great at planning a date. I just am not. I mean, I'm not always the best person. However, if it's up to me, if it's my turn and I need to figure out where we're going, then I'll do that. But I'm absolutely
Right.
okay if he puts forth effort and the best we got to do is we go on a steak and shake Friday night, get us a milkshake, and come back to the house and watch Netflix. That's fine too. If I know he's put forth some effort. Now, if that's his date night choice every weekend, then we got a
Yeah.
problem. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just playing on the strengths of the person. Household chores, finances, who's paying the bills every month. I think you have to figure those things out as a couple up front and then allow the person who's stronger in one area or the other to play into their strengths,
Mm-hmm.
but that initiation thing, I think that's missing so much from these younger men nowadays. And I'll say the
I think
35s
so.
and up even. I think it's
Yes.
missing something that wasn't taught. And because maybe that behavior may not have been exhibited, it's not something that they see. And as women, as we've gotten older and we've evolved into this I am woman, hear me roar, the need and desire to have that man chase you, to have that man initiate the conversation has somewhat gone out the door. And so you've got
Mm-hmm.
generations of people who are being raised thinking that, oh, I don't need him. All this very, very, very feminist women. And so that ain't me. Mm-mm.
Me neither.
Lisa,
Yep.
Yep.
Lisa.
So, the first part of that question, as it relates to initiating, you talked about how that role then changes once you're in a relationship. I am single. We're trying to get to the relationship, right? So the chemistry of the relationship happens, but the initiation is what I think there. It goes back to this idea of the man taking the lead to get us there, right? That him doing that says something about his comfort level in not only wanting you to be the partner, but taking that partnership to the next level. And
Mm-hmm.
someone put up a quote. I read it a little while ago, and it said, "Men want powerful women until they're powerful all the time." Right? I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit of a different dynamic too. It's cute, it's attractive. I want you to take the lead, but now when I'm taking the lead all the time, then I'm kind of getting on your nerves a little bit. So that's a different dynamic. So I think that there has to be some balance to that. So then that goes into the journey of getting to know each other. As we get to know each other, we figure out where our balance is and how we make decisions. All those questions that you were asking that come with that partnership, that being together, that marriage, that journey. But Kim, if there is something attractive, there is something, it's not just a fantasy about it, but there is something attractive about a man just taking the lead. I love to dance, but if we're two-stepping, do you really want me to take the lead? Do you want me to be spinning you around and dipping you?
Dipping
Or are
you.
you you gonna dip me? Right? So there's
Right.
something about taking that lead that gives me a level of security and comfort. Now, decision making, that's different. We'll jail that. But there is something
Right.
also to men, there's also something powerful about it,
There
powerful
is.
about it. That
Mm-hmm.
confidence, that just something about it, Pastor. That's all. So that's my
And a
So,
that's
black
my
man
but
being
I'm just saying
Agreed.
though, what if you? I'm just saying though, at least sometimes you gotta give a man the alley oop. You give me the alley oop, I'm gonna dunk it. Sometimes we not just focused. Sometimes if we're out and about, if you see a man you like, at least be seen. Go brush on him. Go sit by him. Now again, if you throw him the alley oop and he don't dunk it, he just don't want you. But
that's
sometimes
fine.
it's okay for you to take that first step. That's all I'm saying. And I
I
don't think
agree.
that got
Yeah,
It
nothing to
can
do
be
with getting deeper
difficult.
into leadership and roles. in a relationship. It's just, it may just be the environment y'all was in at the time. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. And I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah, I think when I look at it, and I've heard so many conversations down through the years about it, I think sometimes it's a fear of rejection or a loss of pride sometimes too, on
Yes.
both sides.
Yes.
If a man is not confident, or if a man is not sure whether or not that person is going to reciprocate the interest, sometimes we shy away uh, because we don't want to have our feelings hurt. So what I think happens a lot of times is men, and not just I'm not talking about just romantic relationships, but anything. Affirmation is so important, and if anything may threaten that affirmation, it puts guys in a bad position. Now, I'm talking about married couples, uh, you know, teenage boys, 40,
Mm-hmm.
grown and sexy, singles in the city. So I just think on both sides, a woman feels like she loses her femininity or her grace or dignity, and doesn't want to lose that, and the man feels like he doesn't want to be rejected. So I think you got a lot of interpersonal things. But my challenge with it all is, where do these roles come from? And are
Mm,
these
that's
roles
good.
and these things that have been passed down,
Mm-hmm.
are they
Are they
effective? Do they
good?
work
Yeah.
for now? Are we carrying, because if we kept some of the things that have been passed down, women still would be in the kitchen barefoot pregnant, and not working.
Pregnant.
So I'm
Right.
trying to
Right.
figure out
Thank
Right.
what
Mm-hmm.
needs to be dismantled versus, you know, what's healthy, what's right. The Bible does say he that finds a wife finds a good thing, but the Bible didn't have mass incarceration. The Bible didn't have crack. The Bible didn't have some of the same issues that we have now in terms
So
of the
true.
demographics and percentages of men versus women. In the Bible, polygamy was culturally tolerable. So a
That's
man
right.
can
Yes.
have three
And
wives. So everybody was,
wait a minute,
so a
Pastor.
lot
I
has
got I
changed.
got an issue with that scripture. I got an issue though. The man that wrote that had 1,000 wives though.
Right, right. That's true.
Now,
That's
the man that wrote
Pastor,
He
I
Who
have a
Found a Wife, good thing had 1,000
He found a lot
wives.
of good
King Solomon.
things.
So y'all want to, it's some things you just gotta adjust and change.
so
right.
Pastor, I
Thank
have a
you.
question. So how is it that from a male perspective, and I mean this in the most sincere way possible. How is it that Junebug with two teeth, no job, and ashy ankles got more confidence than this brother that done graduated from college 4 times, got his own place, and just put a down payment on a car? How in
Well,
the world
Well,
does
well,
Oh,
that work?
when
Because
when
I'm telling
Junebug,
you, these brothers,
yes.
it's
yeah.
it's something you get from the streets that you can't get from Harvard,
You better say
Howard,
it.
That's,
Yale. It's just when you have to scratch to survive and take what you want and go get it. It's a different mentality. It's just, and I
You
think
better say
that's,
it.
and I think sometimes upbringing. I also think what's happening to a lot of men, particularly men that are raised by their mothers and their grandmothers. I think sometimes when men are raised by their mothers or their grandmothers and older sisters, like me, my mother, my sister did all the cooking. You know what I mean? So they wouldn't want me to be in the kitchen cooking anything. You know what I mean? So when they sometimes women raise their daughters to be independent, right? But they
Yes.
raise their sons to sit back and be served. And I think
That's
in
yeah.
right.
that dynamic, we've lost a lot of initiative and a lot
Mhm.
of aggressiveness. So now men are sitting back
Yeah.
who had their mothers and their grandmothers, their sisters and aunts doing everything for them. And so now, as a consequence, they think they look for that in relationships. They have never taken initiative to do
mm-hmm.
anything. And I think,
That's right.
but when you're in the streets, and if you don't go get it, if you don't kill it, we ain't eating. I think it
We
just
ain't
creates a different kind of suave, a different kind of a swag, and I think that's what has happened. And I could be mistaken, but that's my own little limited perspective on it. And I got to let you guys go because this is so rich. We can stay another 30
No.
minutes. Two things I want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about before we go. I want to talk about deal breakers. I want to hear each one of your deal breakers. And then once we go through all of your deal breakers, start with you, Sarah. And what are
Oh
deal
Lord.
breakers for you in terms of take to the next level? Then I want to close out with a word of encouragement what you're going to say to the grown and sexy audience, how you're being sustained and how you're making it through this pandemic. So those are two questions. We're going to start with you, Sarah. Let's deal with the deal breakers in relationships, and then we'll come back and answer part two. So let's hear all your deal breakers. Start with you,
Sure.
Sarah, then you,
Sure.
Nikki,
I just
then
want
you,
to say
Alton,
I've
then you listen.
enjoyed absolutely. I enjoyed everything that everybody said. I've learned a lot. I appreciate it. My deal breakers are just the things that we talked about earlier, as far as we have to have the same religious beliefs. That's foundational. All of the foundational things are, if you don't have those things, those are deal breakers. You have to have something going for you with your finances. You have to um, be already building something. Those are just deal breakers at the age that I'm at. So just that's a simple answer, quick answer. Um, the pandemic, I am yet holding on. I mean, it's unfortunate. I know the guy that I'm seeing, he works a 9 to 5, and it's very difficult because I'm taking care of or with my parents during this time. We've kind of hunkered down together, and they're very high at risk. So I'm doing running all the errands and things like that for them, working from home and things of that sort. So it's kind of, we're kind of separated right now. So a lot of FaceTime, a lot of Netflix and chill by FaceTime and whatnot. um, but it's brought us close together. We're having a lot of good conversations. I think that that is one thing that this quarantine, if you will, or this isolation period is doing. It's definitely those who are talking to people or or dating someone or in a relationship with someone, it's making you talk a lot, because even if you're in the same house with them, it's making you really, just communicate and build your foundations and your relationships stronger. But yeah, I'm yet holding on. I really miss church on a whole different note. I miss all my House of Hope family. Hey y'all, I miss y'all so much. But yeah, that's how I'm holding up, y'all.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thanks for being a part.
Mhm.
Nikki, deal
Thank you.
breakers, and how are you holding up as a grown and sexy during this season? Those two questions.
All right. So, thank you first and foremost, House of Hope, for creating this forum for folks like
Mhm.
us to just get online and just have a really good conversation. This has been thoroughly enjoyable. So, I appreciate that
Mhm.
first and foremost. But my deal breakers, we talked a little bit about them. So, those foundational things, those are really big for me. But I've also grown to dislike men who take longer to get ready than I do. If I have to put on a full face with lashes, a full set of hair rollers and everything, and you still haven't gotten dressed, all right, we need to reassess. If you got more products in the bathroom than I do, we need to talk about a couple things. So that's one of my big deal breakers. And in terms of remaining grown and sexy during this pandemic, I read a lot of sing a lot of hymns. Just kidding. I am I am just staying true to who I am. I think the word self-care was mentioned in the conversation earlier, and so I think
Mhm.
self-care is a necessary thing, and sometimes we are forced into it. And I think that this pandemic is creating the space for people to start taking care of themselves, um, getting back to the basics of what's important, who's important, and figuring out the things that need to remain sustainable in your life. I think for me in this time, I have started to realize and recognize those things that are going to be everlasting and those things I need to let go, people included. And so I am remaining true to who I am in this dating scene, and I'm not adjusting my deal breakers anymore.
Alton, what are your deal breakers, sir? And what are you doing to
Uh-oh.
remain sane and grown and sexy during this season?
I'm scared to even go through my deal breakers again.
Hey.
But y'all already know my main one. So my main two. Well, I say three. Like I said, it's one. I'm 35, but I do want kids. So if you're a woman that don't want kids, I want kids. So that's a deal breaker. If you poor with your finances, I'm staying with it. And your faith, your values, your belief in God. Um, that's if we just got to be on the same page with that. Um, what I'm doing now during the quarantine, being grown and sexy, man, I've been saving a lot of money on dates, man. I've been dating more than ever. You know, God has created this time for me to start dating. Cause man, you ain't gotta take nobody out nowhere, man. I took a woman the other day to Paris. Um, and she ain't never been, but we went there, man, on YouTube. It was a great date, man. So I just want to encourage men out there, man. If you don't have any money, this is the perfect time to get out there and date, man. Cause you can't go nowhere. You can't take them out. You don't got to go to Ruth Chris's clothes. All them 5-star restaurants with them steaks that's $5,000. You don't have to take them because they closed. You go to Popeyes now. Women love Popeyes now. That chicken sandwich, perfect time to date. So I just want.
You know what, Alton?
None.
Hey, he don't want nobody with
True.
money, but we give advice to the guys who ain't got no money. All right, that's real fair. Lisa, what are
Fair.
your deal breakers? And what are you doing this season to stay sane, grown, and sexy?
All right. So, Pastor, thank you for this opportunity and for this platform, for your vision and House of Hope, giving us this window of opportunity to communicate.
Hmm.
My deal breakers are probably basic, outside of what's already been stated. I'm a woman of faith, so I need a man of faith to either help me take that to the next level. But the other deal breakers include being honest. I have zero space for dishonesty. I don't want to meet your
Hmm.
representative or engage with a facade of who you say you are and you're not really. I don't have interest in that. I'm a communicator. I communicate all the time. I know how to do it in different levels. It's a deal breaker for me. If you aren't comfortable speaking up, speaking out, or just engaging in conversation, I know we can text, but we can't live in that world. That's the deal breaker for me. At 40 plus, as a single woman who is still optimistic and hopeful and looking to connect. Those are the more simple things around deal breakers. In this time of grown and sexy per the pandemic, I'm grateful for a couple of things. Platforms like these, number one, certainly helps. So we are able to communicate all across clearly the globe. For me and my day to day, outside of work, because work still happens for me on a day to day, but I can tell you that I have been catching up with friends. I have been doing virtual calls, whether that's with family or girlfriends or friends I haven't talked to in a while, male or female, that helps keep me sane. And I've also been very reflective around how am I balancing self care. On several occasions, I've seen things around this idea that God has given us time to really do the things we said we would do if we had time. So I'm trying to do some of those things.
Mm,
Looking at an app, trying to learn a new language the other day, should be working
Me
on some personal
too.
projects, trying to build that into my schedule. And to be clear, in the midst of all of that, I also have time for that phone call that just hadn't happened yet. So whenever that conversation occurs, I'll make time for that also. But that's what I'm doing during as a grown and sexy during the pandemic. People who I hadn't talked to in years, I've had a chance to catch up with,
that's
and I
good.
know that that would not ordinarily happen.
Well, let me thank all of you for your unique perspective, for your, your transparency, for sharing your heart, for the humor, for the engagement. I think it's been very, very helpful. Uh, just to be able to hear and see what's going on as a pastor. My concern is making sure that we, as I said earlier, touch all 5 generations and that we are having
Yeah.
conversations that really can meet people's needs. And sometimes it's good to talk about it, to hear it in a forum like this. And so for you to share, your personal stories, it means the world to me, because I just want to be more equipped as a pastor to bless everybody and to help people be equipped and empowered. So thank you so very much for that. I also want to thank you when I listen to your statements. One of the things I think we've done in the church is we've done what I want to call theological malpractice. A lot of what we've taught, I think historically, has caused harm sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
we've harmed people sometimes with some of the things we've
Yes.
taught. That some things weren't biblical; it was just cultural or
Wow.
Yeah.
social,
Yeah.
and we'll carry out these things and
Yes.
have strongholds that may not be healthy. And I want to kind of dismantle some of those things. And so I
Mm.
want to thank y'all for the self care. You're not doing violence to yourself, theological violence or relational violence. That you're in good places, And I think that's where we all need to be, because if it's something that's trying to violence you, do or cause you harm, whether it be theology or person, then it's certain not God's best for us. Y'all have been very thoughtful. I appreciate you, and you've helped a lot of people. Literally tens of thousands of people are going to see this, and we got to come back and talk about this later, because we're going to keep this conversation going throughout the pandemic, and who knows, when it's over, we're going to keep it going somehow. but we're going to be here for another month or two probably. So we'll keep it going. I hope to have each one of you back on at some time. And because we got to stay sane. Whether you're
That's
married,
right.
whether you're single, whether you're forever young, whether you're a teen, we got to stay sane and stay healthy. So God bless y'all. Hope that you are blessed. Nikki, praying for your dad. I know about your dad. Your dad's been a little ill, and so praying for your father and praying for you all. Y'all been a blessing to us, so thank you. Those who've been watching the second episode of Grown and Sexy for Singles Over 40. Had some real conversation here tonight, and I hope you've been blessed by it. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you've been encouraged, that you keep being good to yourself. Keep being good to yourself. Free yourself from anything that's holding you back and causing you harm. Free yourself. Live your life, and know God loves you, and we love you too. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this. Put some likes on it. Share the link with people that you think can be blessed by it. And as we close the broadcast this time, always remember, if you be good to God, God will be good to you. You've been watching Grown and Sexy for Singles Over 40. God bless you. Thank y'all. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Alton.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lisa.
Love you
God
guys.
bless you
Bye
all.
bye.
See you
Love you,
next time.
Pastor.
God bless you.
Bye.
Enjoyed you
Love
all.
you.